My name is Daniel Pike, and this is my story. I am not a brave man. I am just stubborn. That is how I ended up on a volunteer search and rescue team in eastern Tennessee. We worked the edge of the Great Smoky Mountains. Most of our calls were simple. Lost day hikers, twisted ankles, bad weather. I knew these woods well enough to move slow and steady and not get cute. The mountains are patient. They wait for pride. Then they take. This call came in late September. A 12-year-old boy named Caleb had gone missing near a ridge the locals called Devil's Table. He was camping with his uncle. The boy got mad, walked off after dinner, and did not come back. That was the story anyway. The uncle looked like a man who had spent his whole life apologizing. He kept wringing his cap and staring at the tree line like it could talk back. We split into teams. My partner that night was Etta. She was in her 50s, short and tough as old rope. Etta had been on SAR since before I was born. She wore an orange cap that said, "Jesus is my spotter," and carried a little silver whistle. She blew it when she got nervous. She said it made the trees behave. I didn't believe that, but I liked the sound of it. We stepped off just before dusk. The air smelled like wet leaves and cold rocks. The light went gray fast. What little wind there was felt tired. I took point with the map and compass. Etta worked the radio, calling our grid squares in calm, steady bursts. Somewhere far off, a woodpecker kept hitting the same hollow trunk. It sounded like a slow clock running down. We found the first stack at the edge of a dry creek bed, 3 flat stones, one on top of the other. Too neat for nature, not quite a cairn, not quite art, just careful. I bent down and touched the top stone. It was warm, like a hand had been there not long ago. "Leave it," Etta said. "You think Caleb did that?" I asked. She shook her head. "These mountains like to count. Sometimes they count us." I laughed because it felt stupid to be afraid of stacked rocks. We crossed the creek bed and climbed a narrow rise. Our headlamps cut short circles in the dark. Everything outside that small white glow turned to guesswork. I kept walking, telling myself the boy had holed up under a rock shelf and fallen asleep. It happens. Kids get scared. They go small. You learn to look for small on nights like that. The second stack sat in the middle of the trail, right in our light. 5 stones this time, thinner, like slate from a porch step, balanced in a way I did not like. It made my stomach feel loose. "Still warm," I said. Etta did not touch it. She stared past it like she was reading something I could not see. Her radio crackled. "Team 3 to all units, we've got a whistle up near Bear Skull Gap. Could be our subject. Moving to intercept." Etta clicked her mic. "Copy Team 3. We're in grid F5. No contact. Holding course north by northwest for 400 yards, then turning due east for Devil's Table." 10-4, the radio said. "Be advised we're getting static." We kept walking. The trail narrowed to a black hallway between rhododendron. The leaves brushed my jacket with a sound like someone whispering a secret too fast to catch. My headlamp burned a narrow spear that kept finding spider silk floating in the air. The silk looked like pale hair. Don't think about hair. The third stack waited on a stump, 7 stones. They were damp, but the top one was dry. I watched my breath fog. The top stone fogged too. That meant the stone was colder than the air. That also meant it had been touched by something warmer not long ago. I let my hand fall to the handle of my knife. Dumb. A knife is nothing against a mountain. But we all like our props. Etta blew her whistle. 3 short tweets. The sound felt clean for a second, like a window opening. Then the woods swallowed it. We moved again. The ground got mean, hidden holes, roots like thin black snakes. The smell changed too. Less leaf, more old iron. If you've ever been in a shut-down factory, you know that smell. It is rust and damp and something like breath that has waited too long. We reached Devil's Table at full dark. It is a flat rock shelf on a narrow spine. The valley drops on both sides. When the moon is up, you can see lights down in town. There was no moon that night, just a smear of cloud that would not move. There were boot prints on the rock. Small. Heel drag, then toe. A kid trying to run and think at the same time. My headlamp traced the line of those prints across the table and to the far edge where the ridge fell away. They stopped at a shallow depression like someone had stood still there for a long time. "Dan," Etta said. I turned. My light hit a shape by the pines, maybe 40 feet away. A person. The shape stood very straight, too straight, hands by the sides, head tilted like the neck was stiff. The face was wrong. Not a face. A blur where a face should be, like my light hit fog just in that small circle and nowhere else. "Caleb?" I said, because my mouth needed a job. The shape did not answer. It did not move. The woods behind it seemed to bend like heat over a road in summer, but the air was cold. Etta put her hand on my sleeve. She did not squeeze. She did not have to. "Don't step closer," she said, low. "If it wants you close, it will come." "Who is that?" I whispered. "Not who," she said. "What?" The radio spat and screamed, not static, not voice. A high, thin sound that hit nerves I did not know I had. The sound made my eyes water. It felt like heat on skin, but inside my ears. I pulled the radio from Etta's vest and turned the knob. The sound did not change. It stayed the same no matter what I did. It stayed the same when I turned the radio off. The thing by the pines lifted its hand, slow, like it had to remember which joint to bend first. The hand pointed down to the right, into the dark. A trail cut the ridge there, a narrow deer line that dropped into laurel. "Okay," I said, because I am an idiot. "Okay." Etta blew her whistle, one long note, then two short. A signal I had not heard before. The thing tilted its head the other way, like a cat pretending to understand. Then it flicked its hand once, impatient, like we were late, and lowered its arm. "We're not following that," I said. Etta didn't answer. She looked small under her orange cap. The whistle hung from her fingers. The little metal pea inside it clicked against the shell, just once, like a tooth. The wind changed. It came from the right, up from the dark, and with it came a smell like old bread and wet stone. My headlamp cut the trail edge. It picked out something pale just beyond the drop. A sneaker, blue, small, kid's size. It was stuck heel first in a crack. Next to it was a muddy slide, like someone had gone over and tried to catch. "Jesus," I said. I went to my stomach and crawled to the edge. My light found more mud smeared down the slope. Then a hand. Small. Fingers half buried. Then a face. The boy's eyes were open. They were glassy and wide, but he was breathing. A soft, fast sound like a bird trapped in a box. "I got him," I said. "I got him, Etta." I climbed down slow and careful until I could wedge my boot and reach his jacket. I clipped my rescue strap to him, then to me, then back to Etta's belt. We moved like a three-piece chain. It was clumsy and took forever, but we hauled him back up. When I got my hand under his arm, his skin felt oddly cold and dry, like stone left in shade. We rolled him on the flat rock. He sucked air and blinked at us like we were a dream he had been hoping for. He did not talk. He did not cry. He stared past my shoulder and his throat moved like he was trying to swallow something that tasted bad. I turned to see what he watched. The shape was gone. "Time to go," Etta said. Her voice shook once, then found itself. "Now." We started back the way we came. The boy walked between us, holding my sleeve with two fingers like a person afraid to wake something sleeping. The radio was dead weight. Etta tried it every 100 steps anyway. Her whistle stayed in her hand. She did not blow it. I think she was afraid of which thing would answer. We reached the first creek bed. The stones were gone, not kicked over. Gone. The dirt where they had been was smooth, like a tongue had licked it. I don't remember the last mile. My brain turned it into a jump cut. Dark, then the glint of a road sign, then the red and blue blink of a county cruiser. The uncle ran to us. He grabbed the boy and kissed his hair and then said, "Sorry, I'm sorry," over and over until the word fell apart in his mouth. A ranger I knew took my statement. I told him nothing about the shape. I did not say face like fog. I said we saw a sneaker and found the boy down slope. That was all true. Truth is tricky like that. They took the boy to the hospital. He had scratches, mild hypothermia, some dehydration. They said we got to him in time. The ranger clapped my shoulder and said, "Good work." Etta did not look at me. She stared at the trees the whole time, the way the uncle had stared earlier, like the tree line was waiting to say its piece next. I went home after sunrise. I was shaking so bad I had to sit in my truck for 10 minutes before I could turn the key. My hands felt like they belonged to someone else. I walked into my kitchen and drank water straight from the tap. It tasted like coins. I slept on the couch. I woke to the sound of something small and hard falling on my rug. I looked. 3 flat stones sat in a neat stack by my door. I did not move for a long time. The clock on the microwave ticked from 11:59 to 12 and beeped, and I still did not move. I waited to see if there would be more stones. There were not, just those 3. They were the color of creek beds. They were damp. The bottom of the rug was wet where they touched. I finally stood up and picked them up. They were warm. I walked them back outside and set them on the porch and told myself a neighbor kid was playing a joke. I do not have any neighbor kids. I live a mile from the nearest porch light, but it is useful to pretend. That night I dreamed I was back on Devil's Table. The boy was beside me. He held my sleeve with 2 fingers and tried to swallow. Something behind me breathed the thin radio scream. I turned. There was no shape. There was only a tree. And on the tree someone had pressed a warm hand and left no mark, and the bark bulged as if it had been taught to remember the size of the palm. I woke before dawn. The house was quiet, the porch was empty, the 3 stones were gone. Etta called at 7. She did not say hello. She said, "If you get markers, don't answer them." "What do you mean?" I asked. "You'll know what I mean," she said. "The mountain counts. Don't count back." She hung up. I don't go out alone much anymore, not in those hills. When I drive past the turnoff for Devil's Table, I keep my eyes on the road. If I look at the pines, I start to feel rude, like I'll see a figure standing very straight, too straight, waiting for me to be a better listener. People ask what I learned that night. I say this: the woods are alive in ways that don't need our names. They don't hate us and they don't love us. They look, they count. If you are lucky, they point. If you are very lucky, they stop. My name is Hannah Crow, and this is my story. I grew up in a little town on the North Carolina side of the Appalachians. Folks there keep their heads down. They don't ask many questions. My dad used to say, "These mountains feed you, but they watch you too." I always thought he meant bear or bobcat. I didn't know mountains kept eye contact. This happened last October, right after the leaves turned red like scraped knuckles. I had been working double shifts at a diner. My boyfriend had just left me. My mom kept coughing and wouldn't see a doctor. I was tired of being tired, so I packed a bag and drove up to our old family cabin to clear my head. My dad had left me the place after he passed. He had one rule: never stay there when the wind is white. I didn't know what that meant. I thought he was being poetic. I was wrong. The cabin sat off a dirt road on the shoulder of Black Elk Ridge. We went there every fall when I was little. I remembered red leaves, deer trails, hot cocoa, and Dad carving shapes in wood. No monsters, no fear, just us. When I pulled up, the cabin looked the same. Weathered wood, tin roof, antlers over the door, a stack of chopped logs like someone had been preparing for a long winter. The first weird thing happened before I even unlocked the door. The cabin was warm. I stopped, shivered, but not from cold. I hadn't been here in months. Nobody should have lit the fireplace. I stepped inside slow. There were coals glowing low in the hearth. The air smelled like wood smoke and cedar. On the table sat a mug, steam still rising. Then I noticed something carved into the table. Fresh marks. Stay inside when it blows white. Do not open for anything. I ran my finger over the grooves. The cuts were deep and neat. My dad's old knife always left marks like that. He'd been gone 4 years. I told myself, maybe he carved it years ago and I forgot. But steam does not lie. I checked the whole cabin. Empty. Quiet. Just wind in the trees. That night I sat by the fire, reading some old trail journals Dad kept. Most were boring, weather, mileage, things he saw while hiking. But page by page his writing changed. He mentioned something called the breath. Sometimes he capitalized it. Sometimes he called it white wind. He wrote, "It comes when autumn rots, when the deer go silent, when the leaves lay flat, you hear your own name in it." Another page. "If you see the fog crawl low, stay inside. It knocks. It waits." The last line I found was, "I hope Hannah never meets it." I wanted to laugh, but I couldn't. Because outside the wind had turned weird. It had weight. It pressed on the cabin like something pushing a palm flat against wood. Then the fog rolled in. But it wasn't gray. It was pale and milky, glowing faint. It slid between the trees like something sneaking. The forest went dead quiet. Not one leaf twitched. Then came the breathing, slow, wet, like lungs full of old smoke. It did not sound human. I froze. I held my breath until my ribs hurt. The sound moved around the cabin walls, gentle at first, then sharper, like pulling breath through teeth. Something brushed the windows. Not nails, not wood. Something soft that left long streaks like frost. The wind spoke. I don't know how else to say that. It wasn't a voice. It was more like someone whispering into the idea of wind. My name formed inside it. Soft, stretched out, Hana. Every hair on my body rose. I stepped back. My hand found Dad's knife on the mantel. He always kept it there. A plain handle, dark wood, blade sharp enough to skin a thought. The voice came again, closer. Hannah, open up. It's cold out here. The voice sounded like my dad's, but wrong, slow, pulled apart, like someone who learned how to speak by listening through walls. I didn't answer. The breathing pressed against the door, the wood bent inward, boards whining like they remembered fear. The voice copied again, higher. Hannah, let me in, please. It almost sounded like a child. Then a knock, 3 sharp taps. I shook. My knees went weak. My dad's rule burned in my skull. Do not open for anything. I backed into the kitchen. My hands found a jar of coarse salt Dad kept by the stove. I remembered him smearing salt on windows when storms hit. I never asked why. I never wanted to know. Now I knew. My shaking fingers ran salt along the windowsills. When the salt touched the wood, something outside hissed, low and angry, like pouring water on hot metal. Tap, tap, tap. The knocking moved to the side windows, then to the back door. Each knock was harder than the last. The frame shuddered. Dust fell from the rafters like frightened skin. Just let me see you, Hannah. I've missed you. It's lonely out here. The voice cracked. It copied crying, but no breath dragged the sound. Fake. I covered my ears. The breathing filled the cabin anyway. Hours passed, maybe minutes. Time lost meaning. At some point, I fell asleep by the fireplace because I remembered dreaming of white fog curling under door frames like fingers. When I woke, the cabin was cold. The fire was ash. The fog outside was gone. Sunlight hit the porch like gold. On the window near the door, I saw a handprint, too big to be human. 5 long fingers, no thumb. The glass was etched where it touched, like acid had kissed it. I packed my bag fast, throwing clothes, journals, salt, knife. I sprinted to my car and drove the mountain road like a scared rabbit. When I hit town, I didn't slow down until I reached the diner parking lot. I told myself I'd never go back, but I couldn't sleep. My dreams were filled with wind breathing against glass. After a week, something worse happened. I came home from a shift and found salt poured across my apartment windows from the outside, and under each window pane, etched into the brick, "You left too early, come back when it blows white." I moved out that night. New town, new number. Months passed. I slept better. Until early spring when I took a job delivering supplies to mountain cabins. The road wound high through the ridges. Trees were bare, bark green with moss. Halfway up the route, a cold breeze touched the back of my neck. It was wrong. It had weight again. I looked toward the tree line. Fog was rolling downslope, pale, soft, slow, almost sweet-looking. A whisper rode the wind. "Hannah." I floored the truck. The engine whined like it was scared too. Fog chased the tires, curling like hungry breath. I didn't stop until I reached pavement. The fog stayed at the tree line, shivering like it wanted to step past something invisible. Before I drove away, something stepped to the edge of the trees. Tall, thin as hunger, pale arms too long, its head cocked, curious. It had no face, just stretched, smooth nothing where eyes should be. But I felt it looking. Wind tugged at my coat collar. "Next fall," it whispered. "When the leaves rot. When the wind turns white. It will be your turn to open." I drove until my hands went numb on the wheel. That was 3 months ago. Yesterday, the first red leaves fell outside my new apartment. They landed flat on the sidewalk, not curled, not crisp. And last night, someone knocked on my door. 3 taps. I didn't answer. I didn't breathe. This morning, I checked the peephole. Salt was smeared across the hallway carpet, dragged in 5 long finger lines. Soon it will ask again. And I don't know if I can refuse forever. Mountains are patient. Wind is patient. Loneliness is patient. My name is Mark Hollis. I used to guide trail tours near the West Virginia stretch of the Appalachian Mountains. Day hikes, weekend trips, stuff for tourists. I liked the peace out there. Trees don't lie. People do. Back in late spring 2 years ago, a woman named Carla hired me for a private hike. She said she wanted photos for a travel blog. She paid extra to go off the marked trail. I didn't argue. I needed the money, and she seemed harmless. We started early. The air smelled like damp earth and new leaves. A thin fog clung low, rolling between trunks like someone dragging white curtains across the floor. "Ever heard of the Apple Path?" she asked. I frowned. "No such trail on any map out here." She smiled like she knew something secret. "Locals talk about an orchard in the old growth, trees full of fruit even in spring. People say the apples are sweeter than honey." I shrugged. If it was real, someone would have claimed it. Folks around here don't waste good fruit. "What if the orchard doesn't belong to them?" she said. I laughed that off. Now I wish I hadn't. By noon, we reached a ridge I didn't recognize. The ground dipped into a valley that wasn't supposed to be there. My map said we were on solid slope, no lowlands. But there it was, rows of apple trees blooming bright white. Hundreds of them. Carla gasped. She ran ahead, snapping photos like she'd found treasure. I yelled for her to slow down. The air tasted sweet. Too sweet. Like syrup left in the sun. Bees swarmed, but not loud, just a soft hum, like distant whispers. The orchard smelled like childhood memories I couldn't place. Then I noticed the trees, their trunks twisted like ribs, bark folded like knuckles. Every branch bent downward, as if they were bowing, and each apple was pale white, like bone. Carla plucked one. I grabbed her wrist. "Don't eat that." She rolled her eyes. I didn't come all this way not to try it. Before I could stop her, she bit. Her pupils widened. She smiled slow, too slow. "Amazing," she whispered. I felt sick. The sweet smell thickened, filling my head. "Take one bite," she said. "Just trust me." I shook my head. My dad always said if food grows where it shouldn't, something else is feeding it. We moved deeper because Carla wanted more photos. I followed because leaving her alone felt worse. The orchard had no animal tracks, no deer, no rabbits, no birds. Nothing touched the apples except the wind. Around the fourth row, I noticed something under the blossoms. Teeth. Human teeth. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. Scattered like gravel. Some were tiny baby teeth. Some were long, stained, chipped. I froze. "Carla," I whispered. "We're leaving. Now." She didn't look at me. She kept walking. Her steps slowed, like she was listening to something I couldn't hear. The orchard whispered. The sound rose from the trees, not the wind. Soft voices layered under sugar breath. "Stay, eat, rest." Carla giggled. I grabbed her arm harder. "We're leaving." She blinked like she'd woken from a nap. "Mark, I can hear them. They're so kind." Her nose bled. I dragged her away. She didn't fight hard. Her limbs felt loose, weak. When we reached the ridge, the path behind us was gone, not overgrown, vanished. Trees stood where trail should be, fresh and rooted. The orchard hummed louder. A branch creaked, bending toward us. Its blossoms moved like pale fingers. "Run," I said. We sprinted. Carla stumbled, dropping her phone. I tugged her upright. Behind us, branches snapped like breaking ribs. When we reached flat ground, the orchard stood silent behind a wall of pines, like it had never been there. Carla collapsed. She puked white foam. Her lips were pale. The sweet smell clung to her like perfume gone rotten. I radioed for emergency pickup. 2 rangers came with a stretcher. They asked where we'd been. I pointed at the ridge. One ranger frowned. "There's no orchard up there, son." "Then what feeds the teeth?" I said. He didn't answer. They took Carla to a hospital in town. She wouldn't let go of my sleeve. "Don't let them take my apples," she begged. Then she passed out. I sat in the waiting room for hours. A doctor came out, pale-faced. "There was fruit matter in her blood," he said. "But we've never seen anything like it. Her white blood cells are multiplying." "Is she okay?" I asked. He didn't answer that either. Later, a ranger pulled me aside, older man, gray hair, eyes like someone who'd seen too many storms. "You didn't find that orchard," he said. "You didn't see anything." "I'm not lying," I snapped. He sighed. "Boy, we've been burying stories like yours since before you were born. That orchard ain't for us. It moves, shows up when folks are lonely, hungry, lost." "Then we burn it," I said. He shook his head. "Fire won't bite it. You cut it, it grows teeth back." He handed me a card, a phone number, scratched by hand. "If the blossoms follow you," he said, "call, and don't eat apples you didn't plant." I went home that night shaken. I showered twice, brushed my teeth 3 times. Sweet taste wouldn't leave. I dreamed of blossoms falling like snow, landing on my mouth. When I woke, 2 white petals lay on my chest. That morning I checked my balcony. An apple tree stood there, small, young. Its bark was pale like bone. No one could have brought it up. I live on the 6th floor. I grabbed the pot to throw it out. It whimpered. Leaves curled, like in pain. I dropped it, terrified. A neighbor banged on the wall. "Quit hurting that plant," she yelled. But her voice sounded sugary, slow, like Carla's. I dragged the tree to the dumpster, tossed it in, ran back inside and locked every window. That night, someone knocked on my door. 3 soft taps. Sweet smell filled the hall. I didn't answer. In the morning, blossoms lay under my door, like someone had slid them through the crack. I called the number the ranger gave me. A man answered. Voice deep, tired. "Has it touched your house yet?" "Yes," I whispered. He told me to pack a bag. Don't bring fruit. Don't follow blossoms. Meet him at the ridge at sundown. He said the orchard moves in cycles, that sometimes it wants to be found. I went, because I had no choice. By the time I reached the ridge, fog curled low. The orchard sat below again, bright and full. Carla stood among the trees. Her skin was pale, almost wax. Blossoms tangled in her hair. Her eyes were white. She smiled. Her teeth were wrong. Too many, all the same size. "Try one, Mark," she said. "It's easier than being hungry." The branches creaked toward me, blossoms fluttering like moth wings. The ranger grabbed my shoulder. "Don't look at it," he hissed. We turned our backs, walked away, didn't run. Running wakes hunger. Halfway home, I heard Carla whisper from the wind, "Next spring, when the blossoms fall, you'll be hungry too." I didn't sleep that night. The sweet taste still lives on the back of my tongue. That was a year ago. 2 weeks ago, a small branch sprouted through a crack in my apartment floor. Pale bark, tiny leaves. This morning, teeth pushed out of the bark like seeds, and outside, petals are falling in the street. They don't rot, they don't curl, they wait. The mountains don't forget, and neither do we. My name is Daniel Cole, and until last winter, I was just a guy who fixed things for a living. I grew up in southern Ohio, bounced between dead-end jobs, and somehow ended up in the Appalachian mountains of West Virginia because I clicked the first night maintenance, housing-included job that didn't look like a scam. I wasn't chasing adventure or nature or any of that. I just needed somewhere cheap to exist that wasn't my parents' couch. That's how I landed at High Ridge Resort. Resort is a lie they tell on the website. It's a 3-story concrete motel stuck halfway up a mountain, 1 half-rusted ski lift, a bar that smells like spilled beer and fryer grease, and a lobby with a fake stone fireplace that hasn't worked since Obama was president. My job was basic: fix clogged toilets, reset breakers, check the boiler, walk the parking lots every hour, pretend to look official in a blue jacket that said maintenance like anyone was impressed. The nights had a rhythm. Clock in at 10, grab the clipboard from Sandra at the front desk, exchange the same tired jokes. "You made it back," she'd say, chewing her pen. "I lost $20 in the staff pool. I had you down for getting eaten by a bear this week." "You're sick," I'd tell her. "You know that, right?" Tell that to my student loans. She was mid-30s, permanently exhausted, and addicted to true crime podcasts. She loved making weird comments about bodies in the woods and then going back to scrolling her phone. There was Joe, the lift operator, who did nights in the bar when it was busy. Big guy, red beanie, beard like a hibernating bear. He swore the mountain didn't like him because every mechanical failure seemed to happen when he was on shift. His solution was to talk to the lift like it was a stubborn dog. Then there was Lena from housekeeping, who wouldn't go up to the 3rd floor alone at night because she said the TVs turned themselves on. When I told her it was probably a bad power strip, she gave me a look like she felt sorry for me. "You hear things up there," she said once. "The walls. They're thin, but not that thin. You'll see." I laughed it off. I always laughed it off. High Ridge sat like a concrete island in a sea of dark trees. The main lot was in front, bright and busy when we had skiers in. The far lot wrapped behind the building toward the old maintenance shed and the tree line. Beyond our last light pole, the forest rose almost vertical, thick with bare winter branches and old growth that had seen more history than the resort brochure admitted. The first weird thing happened back there, behind the shed. It was early January, dead off season, and we had maybe 5 guests in the whole place. The air was sharp and dry, the kind that hurts your teeth when you breathe. I was on my first round, crunching through packed snow, flashlight beams slicing through my own breath. The far lot was always the creepiest part. One flickering light, the maintenance shed on one side, trees pressing in on the other, rising up into black nothing. I was checking the dumpsters when my beam swept across the tree line and landed on a shape. A man stood just beyond the glow of the lot, right where the asphalt became hard-packed snow and then forest. He was facing the motel, still as if he'd been carved there. Dark coat, hood up. I couldn't see his face. I thought he was a guest at first, maybe having a smoke or something. I lifted my hand in a half wave. He didn't move. "Sir?" I called out. "You okay?" Nothing. No wave, no nod. He just watched, or faced us, or faced me. I don't know. There was about 30 feet between us, but the dark made it feel like a mile. I took a couple of steps toward him, boots crunching. My flashlight flickered just once, and when it came back, he was closer, maybe 10 feet closer, same posture, same silence. I stopped. Sir, you can't really be on that slope. It's not cleared. Kinda dangerous." The wind moved through the trees behind him, but his coat and hood didn't even twitch. I felt this strange, ridiculous thought slide across my mind. He's not standing on the snow. My skin went cold under my jacket. And then headlights swung into the lot behind me. One of our rare late arrivals, tires squeaking over ice. I turned just for a second. When I looked back, the man was gone. No crunch of footsteps, no fading silhouette. Just empty snow, unbroken between the asphalt and the trees. I stood there a moment, heart beating too fast for how little had actually happened. Then I did what people always do. I told myself I'd imagined the distance, that the light was playing tricks, that he just walked away while my back was turned. I didn't think much of it. That's what I told myself anyway. 2 nights later, he came back. I'd almost convinced myself the first incident was nothing. Lack of sleep. Shadows. Maybe even some guest I hadn't recognized. The resort was busier that weekend. A bus of college kids from Ohio had checked in, loud and excited. The bar was noisy. The lifts would open in the morning as long as the wind didn't get too ugly. Around midnight, I took my second smoke break of the night out by the side entrance. I'd quit last year, but I still went out there just to stand under the overhang and breathe in the cold and listen to the mountains creak. The side door faced the slope and lift line. Beyond the orange plastic fencing, the hill dropped away into darkness, broken only by the dead, dangling chairs of the lift. I was scrolling my phone when I felt something like a prickle at the base of my skull. You know that feeling, the one that says, "You're being watched." I looked up. He was standing under the lowest lift tower, right where the slope flattened out before dropping into the trees. Same dark coat, same hood, same distance means nothing vibe. The only light out there was from the spill off the side door and a single safety bulb near the tower. It threw his shape into this weird half shadow. I couldn't see his face, but I could tell his head was tilted up, looking at the chairs, at the cables, at the mountain. My first thought was, trespasser. My second was, drunk kid from the bus. "Hey," I shouted. "You're not supposed to be on the hill." He didn't react. I stepped off the concrete onto the snow, my boots breaking the crust with a loud crunch that echoed up the slope. That got his attention. His head snapped toward me in a way that looked wrong. Too quick, too clean, like a cut in a video. One frame, he was looking up. Next frame, straight at me. No in between. I stopped dead. Even from that distance, something was off about his height. Either he was standing on something under the snow or his legs were just a little too long. The hood was shadowed, but I had the sick feeling he was smiling. "Sir," I tried again, forcing my voice steady. "You can't be out here. It's not lit. We've had avalanches on this side. There's posted signs." The wind gusted, hard enough to make me squint. When I opened my eyes again, he was closer, maybe 15 feet away now, between one blink and the next. No footprints in the snow between where he'd been and where he was. My heart slammed once, hard. I took a step back toward the door. He took a step forward. The snow under his boot didn't crunch. It didn't move at all. The side door banged open behind me. "Hey, Dan. Oh, sorry." Joe's voice crashed into the night. "Didn't know you were talking to somebody?" I spun around. Joe stood there in the doorway, a crate of beer balanced against his hip, eyebrows raised. Warm light spilled out around him. When I turned back to the slope, the man was gone. Just empty snow, the lift towers, the dark line of trees. My throat felt dry. "There was a guy out there," I said. "Under the tower. Did you see him?" Joe squinted into the dark. "Nah, just you talking to yourself like a psycho." "You didn't see anybody? Hear anything?" "Nah, man. You sure you're sleeping enough?" He nudged my arm with his elbow. "Mountain'll mess with you if you let it. This place is weird." He meant it as a joke, but it landed wrong. Later in the break room, I told Sandra about it, half laughing, waiting for her to call me an idiot. Instead, she frowned. "Dark coat," she said. "Hood up? Just kind of standing there?" "Yeah." I tried to keep my voice light. "Please tell me it's just some creep from town and not a ghost story." She blew out a breath. "Lena said she saw somebody like that behind the dumpsters last week. Thought it was a guest until I don't know. She said it was closer all of a sudden. Like it moved fast? Like it didn't move at all." Sandra shuddered. "Lena's dramatic. She thinks every noise is a demon. It's probably just some weirdo cutting through from the service road. We're middle of nowhere. People wander." Her words should have made me feel better. They didn't. Because I'd looked for footprints. There weren't any. The third time, he didn't just watch. It was 4 nights later. The sky had gone from cloudy to a low lid of steel. Snow came down in lazy, heavy flakes that stuck to my jacket and turned the parking lot into a dull mirror. We were near full capacity thanks to a winter adventure package that some genius in corporate had come up with. It was mostly families and broke couples who thought rustic meant Instagrammable. Kids were running in the halls, the elevators were whining, the boiler kept tripping because everyone wanted showers at the same time. By 2 a.m., things finally settled. I just reset a breaker and was heading back through the lobby when the radio on my belt crackled. "Dan, you near the far lot?" Sandra's voice had a tight edge to it. "Just passing the front desk," I said, pressing the talk button. "Why?" "Got a call from a guest in 214. Says there's a guy standing in the woods behind their car, freaking them out. Can you check it out?" My stomach went cold. "On my way." I grabbed my heavier flashlight from the maintenance closet. The front doors hissed open, letting in a slice of cold that smelled like metal and pine. The walk across the main lot felt longer than usual. The snow muffled everything. No cars moving, no voices, just the crunch of my boots and the whisper of falling flakes. The far lot looked normal at first. A few cars under dusting snow, the dim cone of light from the single lamp, the maintenance shed hunched on the left like something ashamed of itself. And then my beam slid across the tree line. He was there, closer than he'd ever been. Standing not at the edge of the trees now, but between 2 parked cars, one hand resting on a rearview mirror like he was considering stealing it. Same coat, same hood, same impossible stillness. I stopped. My breath puffed out in quick clouds. "Sir," I called, and my voice came out too high. "You can't be." He lifted his head. In the thick falling snow, I finally saw something under the hood. Not clearly. Just the impression of a face that hadn't quite decided how to be a face. The features were soft. Like someone had tried to remember what a person looked like and got most of the shapes right, but not the depth. The shadows were wrong. Then his head tilted. The hood slipped back a fraction. Antlers, not full, branching antlers like a deer. Just the suggestion of pale, bony growth curling back from his skull, breaking the line of the hood. A trick of the snow, I told myself, even as my heart hammered, even as my knees threatened to fold. He stepped around the car, toward me. I tried to move. My body felt slow, heavy. He moved again, and this time there was no illusion of walking. One moment he was at the bumper, the next he was 5 feet closer, space folding wrong between us. My flashlight flickered. Something scraped across the asphalt near his feet. Not boots, not shoes. Hollow, like bone against stone. "Stop right there," I shouted. My hand went instinctively to the only weapon I carried, a heavy steel flashlight. "I'll call the cops, man, I'm not kidding." He raised his right hand. There was something in it. At first, I thought it was a stick, a gnarled, twisted branch stripped of bark. Then my brain caught up and realized it was a forearm. Human. Gray in the bad light, dry and wrong, wrapped in what looked like old cloth. The fingers hung limp, the nails blackened. He lifted it joint by joint like a puppet on invisible strings. The dead hand pointed at me. My vision tunneled. My knees wanted to buckle, move. I couldn't. The world reduced to the lifted arm, the wrong face, the hint of antlers. The radio on my belt crackled suddenly, loud, right in my ear. "Dan, you out there yet? Guest's calling again, says he's..." The voice cut through whatever held me. My hand jerked, the flashlight slipped, smacked against my thigh, pain shooting up my leg. The tiny shock broke something else loose. I bolted, not gracefully, not heroically. I turned and ran for the main lot, boots slipping on the ice. My breath exploded in my chest. Every step I expected to feel that dead hand clamp onto my shoulder, drag me backward, and I didn't look back. The lobby doors slid open so slowly I almost slammed into them. Warm air hit my face, smelling of coffee and cleaning chemicals and people. The lights were painfully bright. I stumbled inside. Sandra was halfway out of her chair, eyes wide. "Jesus, Dan, you look like..." Glass shattered behind me. I spun around. The far window overlooking the lot spiderwebbed, a starburst cracking across the glass from a single impact point at chest height. For a second, all I saw was my own pale reflection and the snow beyond. Then, in the broken pattern of the glass, I caught a fragmentary glimpse of the lot. No man in a coat, just cars, and snow, and trees. But in the reflection of the reflection, two pale, twisted horns disappearing into the dark. The police came. Of course they did. Someone had to explain the broken window, my panic, the fact that I'd apparently sprinted back through the lobby yelling, "He's in the lot, he's in the lot," like a maniac. 2 deputies from the county showed up. Harlan, who had a mustache like an old Western sheriff, and a younger guy named Diaz who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. They walked the far lot with me, their flashlights sweeping over the snow. "You're sure he was here?" Harlan said. "Right between these cars?" "Yes," I said. My voice sounded small in the open air. "No footprints," Diaz pointed out. He was right. The snow was perfect except for my own tracks from earlier rounds. The spaces between the cars were pristine. I swallowed. Maybe the wind filled them in. Harlan gave me a look that said he'd heard better lies from drunk teenagers. We walked the tree line, checked the shed, shined our beams into the forest until the black swallowed the light. Nothing. Back inside, they took my statement in the lobby while the night auditor pretended not to listen. "So," Diaz said, pen poised, "man in a dark coat, hood, no visible face, possibly antlers." I closed my eyes. Saying it out loud made it worse. "I don't know what I saw," I muttered. It was dark. There was snow. It could have been a hat or branches behind him. I just know he scared the hell out of me, and he had something in his hand that looked like a person's arm. The deputies exchanged a look. "Any drugs tonight, Mr. Cole?" Harlan asked. "Alcohol?" "Coffee," I said, "and a leftover donut." He didn't smile. Diaz, at least, tried to sound neutral. "Look, we get trespassers sometimes. Folks from town, kids, sometimes hunters that lose their way. Could be somebody screwing with you." "Moving without footprints?" I snapped before I could stop myself. The pen paused. I sighed. "Sorry, it felt wrong." They left after an hour of walking around, talking to Sandra, making sure I wasn't going to hurt myself or anyone else. No report filed, just "we'll keep an eye out and call us if you see him again." Like I planned to hang around long enough for that. Sleep became a joke after that night. I'd lay down in the sad little staff room they called my quarters, close my eyes, and immediately see that dead arm rising, the hand pointing at my chest. I'd snap them open and stare at the ceiling, listening for bones scraping across concrete. When I did manage to drift off, I'd wake up gasping, heart pounding, with the taste of dirt in my mouth and the feeling of branches scraping against my ribs from the inside. Lena cornered me in the laundry room a couple days later. "You saw him, didn't you?" she whispered, eyes darting to the doorway. I hesitated too long. "I knew it," she said. "He's been around since before I started here. Housekeeping girls talk about him. The man near the trees. The one that doesn't leave footprints." "I don't want to hear this," I muttered, folding towels too roughly. "He's not a man," she said. "Not really. My grandma had stories. Old things in the hills. Things that learned how to look like us but didn't get it right." "I'm from Ohio," I said. "We have corn and heroin. No antler men." She didn't laugh. "Yeah. Just because you don't have a name for something doesn't mean it isn't real." That night I taped a cheap cross above my bed, even though I hadn't been to church since I was 12. It made me feel stupid and better at the same time. The resort manager offered to give me a couple of days off when she heard I'd had a bit of a scare with a trespasser. I said no. The idea of going home alone to my one-room apartment down the mountain felt worse than staying where there were at least other people around. I clung to reality by counting faucets I fixed and light bulbs I changed, until the mountain decided it wanted more. The last encounter wasn't in the lot or the trees. It was inside. It happened in the stairwell between the second and third floor. The elevator had gone down again around 3 a.m., and I'd grabbed my tools to go reset it. The halls were quiet, families asleep, bar finally closed, the building breathing slow. The stairwells in High Ridge are narrow concrete shafts that always smell a little damp. The kind of place sound does weird things, bouncing too much or not enough. I was halfway up from the second floor, toolbox banging against my leg when I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. Something hard, touching each step. Not heavy like boots, not soft like sneakers. I froze. The sound came from above me, drifting down the stairwell. 3 taps, a pause, 3 more. Rhythm like a cane or something being dragged. "Hello?" I called. My voice came back to me wrong, broken into smaller versions by the walls. The tapping stopped. Silence pressed in. I told myself it was a guest, a drunk one, or housekeeping, or anything human. I took another step. The light above me flickered. Something moved at the landing. A shadow stretched, not quite matching the shape it was supposed to belong to. Too long in the arms, too high in the head. Something thin and pale glinted at the top of the stairs. Horn, branch, bone. I couldn't tell. Then, on the landing between the second and third floor, framed in the humming fluorescent light, he was just there. No transition, no footsteps, coat, hood, too tall silhouette, and in his right hand, dangling like a broken accessory, that dead forearm, the fingers grazing the steps. The smell hit me a second later. Not rot exactly, dry, old, like a forgotten basement or the inside of a long-closed funeral home. Dust and something sweet and wrong. My mouth filled with copper. He took 1 step down. I couldn't move. Another step. The light above him buzzed, then flared, then dimmed. For an instant, his face came clear. It wasn't a face. It was a stretched suggestion of one. Eyes too far apart. Nose like a smear. A mouth that was only lines where a mouth should be. No depth, no dark, no teeth. A nightmare of a person, sketched by something that had never seen one up close. The antlers were clear now, 2 pale, curling points pushing the hood up, scraping almost lazily against the concrete wall when he tilted his head. He raised the arm. This close, I saw the wrist bones poking through dry tendon where the skin had split. The fingertips quivered on invisible strings. He pointed it at my chest. This time, my body didn't just freeze. It surrendered. My legs gave out. The toolbox clanged down the steps, scattering screwdrivers and wrenches. Pain shot through my knees as they hit concrete. My chest refused to expand. I felt my heart stutter like a bad engine. He moved faster now. One blink, he was 3 steps above me. Next blink, dash, dash. He was inches away, the dead hand pressed against my sternum. Cold, so cold, it burned. Like ice that wasn't ice, like the absence of anything warm in the world. It sank through my jacket, through my shirt, needles of freezing pain radiating through my ribs. I tried to scream. No sound came out. My vision went white at the edges. In that brightness, I saw things that were not the stairwell. Deep forests older than the road up the mountain, animal bones strung in trees, faces half-formed in bark, eyes watching from hollows. My heart skipped, then stuttered, then stopped. For 1 solid, endless second, nothing moved. No breath, no blood, just me and this thing that had learned to wear a coat, pressing the memory of a hand into my chest. Then, a jolt, like someone had kicked me from inside. My heart slammed back to life, a brutal, painful thump that knocked a strangled sound from my throat. The dead hand fell away. The thing cocked its head as if curious. Somewhere far away, a door slammed. A voice shouted down the hall. "Hello? Night staff? Our heater?" The fluorescent light flickered. In the next blink, the stairwell was empty. I collapsed backward onto the steps, sucking in air like I'd been drowning. When I finally staggered to my feet, every beat of my heart felt wrong, too loud in my ears, a fraction off, like a song slightly out of sync with itself. I didn't fix the elevator that night. I went straight to the lobby, sat in the break room, and didn't move until sunrise turned the snow outside gray. I quit the next day. I didn't bother with 2 weeks' notice. The manager started to lecture me, then took one look at my face and just nodded. People in the mountains know when not to ask questions. The hospital in town ran tests because I told them I'd had chest pain on the stairs. They hooked me up to machines, took blood, asked about family history. Finally, the doctor, a tired woman with deep lines around her eyes, pulled up a printout of my EKG and frowned. "Your heart did something strange a couple of nights ago," she said. "You have a little episode here, almost like it tried to stop and restarted itself. Did you feel anything unusual around this time?" I thought of the stairwell, the cold hand, the empty seconds. "No," I lied. "Just felt off." She studied me for a moment like she knew there was more I wasn't saying. "Well," she said eventually, "it's back to normal now, but I want you to follow up with a cardiologist in the city. And if you feel that kind of chest heaviness again, come back immediately. Don't wait." I nodded. I did not tell her that sometimes, when I closed my eyes, I could feel my heartbeat skip for just a second, and in that gap I heard something moving through trees that weren't there. The police never called back about our trespasser. High Ridge logged the broken window as weather damage. Sandra texted me a meme about quitting and told me Lena said the halls felt lighter since I left. I moved back to Ohio within the month. Different job, day shift, warehouse work, no trees taller than the power lines, flat land in every direction. You'd think that would help. It doesn't. The nightmares followed. In them, I'm always walking that far lot, or climbing that stairwell, or standing under the lift. Sometimes I'm back in my parents' backyard, which never had woods behind it, but now there's a forest rising behind the fence. Dense and black and wrong. I can hear something big moving between the trunks, brushing past them with a bone branch scrape. Sometimes I dream my heart stops again. This time, it doesn't restart. I wake up gasping, hand pressed hard to my chest, fingertips digging into the skin over the bone. The spot where that dead hand touched me aches when the weather changes, like an old wound that doesn't show up on scans. I don't take smoke breaks anymore. Don't stand in doorways just to stare at the dark. I avoid windows that show open land at night. If I have to walk across a parking lot alone, I keep my head down and my pace brisk. I park under the brightest light I can find. I thought moving away from the mountains would help. Then, last week, walking to my car after the late shift at the warehouse, I felt it again, that prickle at the base of my skull, being watched. The lot was mostly empty, a few trucks, a couple of sedans. Sodium lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in sick yellow. I told myself not to look. I looked anyway. Across the lot, just beyond the reach of the nearest light, a tall figure stood between two parked cars. Dark coat, hood, still, for a heartbeat. One hard, painful beat, I saw the outline of something pale curling up from under the hood. Antlers. I blinked. He was gone. No footprints, of course, just a dusting of road salt and a slick of melting snow. My heart skipped once, then slammed, then settled, like it was remembering something. I got in my car, locked the doors, and drove home with my hands gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles went white. I tell myself it was just a trick of the light, a shadow, another tired brain misfiring. But here's what I can't stop thinking about. That night in the stairwell, when my heart stopped, something touched me from the other side of that blank second and shoved it back into motion. Something that had cold hands and bone antlers and a half-made face. Something from the mountain. People talk about near-death experiences like they're holy. Bright lights, loved ones, peace. Mine was an empty concrete stairwell and a thing that wanted to see what I'd do if it pressed pause. Now every time my chest stutters, every time a parking lot feels too quiet, I wonder, did it let me go? Or did it just mark me? I don't go back to the Appalachians. I avoid pictures, documentaries, anything that shows those ridgelines rising like old sleeping backs under the sky. But sometimes, late at night, when the world is as quiet as that far lot, I could swear I hear something outside my apartment window. Not footsteps, not knocking, just a soft, hollow tapping, like bone on concrete, counting down the beats of a borrowed heart. If you made it this far, you're my kind of people. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next nightmare. Now I want to know something creepy from your side. Tell me in the comments, where are you watching from, and what time is it right now?